I died at my desk after working overtime for a month straight. In that final moment before everything went black, I made a wish. Next life. I never wanted to be a corporate slave again. After a brief darkness, I opened my eyes to find myself in another world entirely. Your Highness Celeste, Prince Celeste, Luna. These were characters from a male-oriented novel I'd read before. Fae-born in chaos, I choose rebellion Fae, so I had transmigrated into a book. Dr. Zhang, is there truly no way to treat Luna? Mother Celeste gripped her hands tightly, her gaze filled with sorrow as she looked at the imperial physician before her. Dr. Zhang bowed respectfully. Your Highness, Princess Luna suffers from a congenital weakness. This humble physician is powerless to help. I fear the princess may not survive much longer. Celeste's eyes immediately reddened, tears threatening to fall, when suddenly, a crisp, childish voice echoed in her mind. Ah, Mother, don't believe this Dr. Zhang. He wants to kill me. Celeste froze. What voice was that? Knowing the plot, I was frantic with worry. But my throat was so sore from illness that I couldn't speak, only frantically complaining in my mind. My dream was to be a pampered little princess, living in luxury and comfort. Now that I'd finally been reborn as royalty, I absolutely couldn't die. In the original story, Luna died of illness at age 3, but it wasn't an accident. Mother, this physician belongs to Vera. He is deliberately misdiagnosing me to kill me. My beautiful, kind, generous mother, please don't believe his lies. Get another doctor quickly. Celeste clutched the silk handkerchief in her hand, glancing around. Everyone else's expressions seemed normal. Could only she hear this voice? And that voice was calling her mother. Could it be? Celeste hurried to the bedside and found the little one who had been unconscious was now blinking her beautiful large eyes. I realized that my mother in this world was truly stunning. Celeste had exquisite features, elegant brows, autumn, water eyes, with a gentle, ethereal temperament. Dressed in light blue palace robes, she seemed otherworldly. Oh my goodness, Mother. Are you perhaps a little too beautiful, like a sparrow that ate strawberries? Absolutely gorgeous. I love my pretty mother so much. Want to cuddle with Mother, kiss kiss, Celeste. If she wasn't mistaken, this should be her daughter's inner voice. She hadn't expected her usually quiet, silent daughter to have such a lively inner world. Celeste accepted this quickly. She'd loved reading romance novels since childhood, so this didn't frighten her at all. Besides, mother and daughter were connected at heart. Hearing her daughter's thoughts wasn't that strange. Mother, save me quickly. Change doctors. Otherwise your daughter will really die. Seeing that her beautiful mother remained silent, I became anxious, making muffled sounds in my throat. Abba, Abba, Mother, save me, Mother. I don't want to die of illness. Celeste snapped back to attention, gripping the brocade handkerchief tightly. She didn't know how her daughter had discovered this, and Dr. Zhang seemed steady and reliable with no apparent flaws. But when it concerned her daughter's life, she couldn't ignore it. After all, Vera had indeed always been at odds with her. Celeste sat by the bed, lovingly stroking my dampened little face, suppressing her churning emotions. She spoke slowly. Dr. Zhang, you've worked hard, but since Luna's condition is severe, it would be more prudent to have another physician examine her as well. Dr. Zhang was startled and immediately protested. Does Your Highness not trust this humble physician's medical skills? If another doctor came, his secret manipulations would be discovered, and he'd have no way to report back to Vera. Celeste frowned, instantly becoming authoritative, the air in the chamber growing tense. Do my decisions require your questioning? Dr. Zhang immediately knelt, his voice trembling. This humble physician dares not. Woohoo. Mother is so amazing. I love Mother so much, want to cuddle with Mother. Celeste's lips curved upward, unable to suppress her joy. Her daughter really did have such a sweet little mouth. Nina, go to the Imperial Medical Academy and request that Chief Physician Shu come here. Yes, Your Highness. Nina curtsied, but before she could leave, a somewhat shrill voice suddenly came from outside. Sister Celeste, I've come to see you. How is little princess feeling? Vera swayed in, her upturned phoenix eyes fixed on Celeste by the bedside. I heard from outside just now. Sister, why do you want to change physicians for no reason? Change physicians. Don't even think about it. If they changed doctors, she'd have no way to kill Luna. Celeste's expression turned ice, cold. Luna's condition is severe. Isn't it normal to— Vera covered her lips with her handkerchief, looking troubled. Normal, yes. But Dr. Zhang has always served the Dowager Empress, who has praised his medical skills many times. Sister, by doing this, aren't you questioning the Dowager Empress and showing disrespect? Oh ho, what a big accusation! Disrespecting the Dowager Empress is a serious crime. Vera is clearly trying to harm my mother. Changing doctors equals great disrespect. How does this woman love making everything a political issue? Oh, I get it. Vera just wants to prevent my mother from changing doctors. This woman is really scheming. Celeste's expression grew increasingly cold as she listened to my inner voice. Just as she was about to speak, a sharp eunuch's voice came from outside. His Majesty arrives. Everyone in the room knelt in unison. Rise. A deep, magnetic male voice responded. Celeste, how is fifth princess? This voice sounds quite nice. Is this my father? Adrian? What voice was that? How was someone speaking? The voice sounded so young. Could it be? Adrian walked to the bedside and met a pair of beautiful eyes directly. Though my throat was swollen and painful, I could only squeeze out a little sound. Abba, Abba, my father is quite good, looking truly handsome beyond measure. But looking so handsome yet being a tyrant. What a waste, Adrian. It felt like praise, but not quite like praise. Wait, he wasn't a tyrant. He worked late into the night reviewing memorials, governing diligently and loving his people. How could he be a tyrant? He observed the people around him discreetly, and found their expressions unchanged. Could only he hear this? Adrian was instantly delighted. Ha! He was indeed the true Dragon Emperor. Vera saw the Emperor's arrival, and immediately spoke. Your Majesty, little princess is seriously ill. Yet Sister Celeste insists on changing physicians at this time. Dr. Zhang has always cared for little princess, and knows her condition best. Rashly changing doctors might worsen little princess's condition. Adrian lowered his gaze, seeming to consider. Seeing his silence, I became immediately anxious. Father, Dr. Zhang deliberately misdiagnosed. He wants to kill me. Dad, save me quickly. Change doctors, please. Adrian looked up and said coolly, Vera makes a valid point. Vera's smile hadn't fully formed when she heard. However, having another physician take a look would be good too. Vera, Adrian commanded coldly. Little Chen, go to the Imperial Medical Academy and summon Chief Physician Shu. Excellent, Tyrant Father. You are truly wise and perceptive. You saw through Vera's scheme immediately. Adrian smiled proudly. Of course, though why only one compliment? Dr. Shu arrived quickly. After examining my pulse, he bowed and gave his diagnosis. Little princess merely has a cold. This humble physician will prescribe some medicine. With half a month's rest, she'll recover. Celeste immediately sighed with relief. Thank heavens, her Luna would be saved. Dr. Zhang, seeing the situation turning against him, immediately begged for mercy. This humble physician's medical skills were inadequate, nearly harming the princess. Please punish this physician, Your Majesty. Hearing Dr. Zhang's words, I couldn't help but complain internally. Hemph. Inadequate skills. My foot. You deliberately tried to harm me. You put plenty of things bad for my condition in my medicine. No medical ethics at all. You and Vera conspired together to kill me. Absolutely despicable. Adrian's expression grew increasingly grave. Dr. Shu's diagnosis made him completely believe my words. Dr. Shu examined this medicine bowl for anything improper. Adrian pointed to the medicine bowl on the table. After careful inspection, Dr. Shu frowned deeply. This medicine is very harmful for the princess's condition, and would actually worsen her illness. Adrian's icy gaze immediately swept toward the kneeling Dr. Zhang. Dr. Zhang, you dared to deliberately harm the princess. Dr. Zhang immediately began kowtowing frantically. This humble physician was momentarily confused. He opened his mouth to say more but was interrupted by Vera beside him. Her beautiful face now showed complete distress. Your Majesty, I never imagined Dr. Zhang would dare harm the princess. I truly never thought he was such a person. Quick reaction, shifting all blame to Dr. Zhang, when he was clearly following your orders. Hemph! I hope my tyrant foolfather won't really believe Vera's nonsense. What a womanizer. Adrian, well, not really. His little daughter certainly showed him no mercy. Celeste looked at the stammering Dr. Zhang, her delicate brows furrowing as she spoke with clear, forceful authority. Harming a princess is a capital crime, punishable by execution of 9 generations. But if you reveal who is behind this, I can plead with His Majesty to spare your family's lives. Dr. Zhang immediately trembled all over. Was it really worth risking his entire family for Vera's 500 taels of silver? Wow, Mother is amazing. She immediately grabbed Dr. Zhang's weak spot. Mother is so brave and clever, so intelligent, so amazing. I love her so much. Want to cuddle with amazing mother. Kiss kiss. Adrian, who heard everything. Why could she praise Celeste with 3 compliments, but only gave him 1? He was amazing too. Adrian set down his teacup, feeling the tea was delicious, but he couldn't enjoy it anymore. Dr. Zhang tremblingly raised his head and squeezed his eyes shut. It was Vera. It was all Vera's doing. Vera was shocked and immediately kowtowed. Your Majesty, please investigate. This concubine is innocent. Dr. Zhang is slandering me. Dr. Zhang turned to glare at her angrily. Lady Vera, the 500 taels you gave me are still in my home, Vera argued desperately. What evidence do you have that I gave you that silver? Lady Vera, how can you deny everything now? Dogs fighting dogs, so entertaining. Fight more fiercely, fight! Fight! Celeste and Adrian, take these 2 away and hand them to the Imperial Investigation Bureau for severe interrogation. How dare they harm his Luna? They must pay the price! Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Please no. This concubine is wronged, Vera screamed and cried, her once exquisite makeup now appearing grotesque. She'd been in the palace for 5 years without bearing children, making her especially jealous of concubines with offspring. Celeste had no family background, and the Emperor no longer favored her. She should have been easy to deal with. She couldn't understand how her perfect plan had been discovered. Where had it gone wrong? Hearing Vera's wailing, oh ho, the bad people are caught. Hooray! Tyrant father is truly a just and wise ruler. Adrian was about to feel proud when he heard that childish voice continue. But unfortunately, 2 years from now, sigh. Adrian perked up his ears. What about 2 years from now? What would happen to him in 2 years? But after waiting a long time for the continuation, Adrian anxiously hurried to my side, only to find I had fallen asleep. I had my eyes tightly closed, my little pink fist beside my face, looking adorable and well-behaved. Adrian's heart melted completely. So this was his little daughter. He'd been busy with state affairs for years, not close to his children, seeing them only a few times yearly. Only now did he discover what having a little daughter felt like. His heart felt warm, like being soaked in honey. And Luna hadn't called him Father Emperor but Dad. He loved this address. It lacked the coldness of imperial family relations and was simply the most ordinary father-daughter bond. Never mind. He'd simply ignore the tyrant part. Adrian reached out to poke my little cheek, his eyes full of gentle light. Everyone around was stunned. Was this still the emperor they knew? Hadn't he always disliked children? Now he was being so gentle with little princess. Your Majesty, the Ministry of War just sent a report. Eunuch Chen reported quietly. I know. Don't worry about it for now. Adrian responded coldly. He wanted to wait here for Luna to wake up. Today he absolutely had to know what would happen in 2 years. Adrian waited in Celeste's crystal palace until dark. I was still sleeping. Soon news that the emperor had spent an entire day in Celeste's palace spread throughout the imperial court. Palace maids and eunuchs gossiped endlessly. Didn't Celeste fall from favor long ago? Why did His Majesty stay in her palace so long this time? His Majesty never visits concubines' palaces during the day. Who knows? We can't guess His Majesty's thoughts. Either way, we need to work extra hard serving Crystal Palace. Adrian waited until evening, but I still hadn't woken, since today's memorials still awaited his attention. After dinner at Celeste's palace, Adrian returned to the royal study. The next day, I yawned and slowly opened my eyes. Woohoo! Sleeping until I naturally wake up is so comfortable. Not having to work or study is wonderful. I discovered that since inhabiting this body, perhaps influenced by the original owner, I was becoming more and more like an actual 3-year-old hearing the voice. Celeste paused in her embroidery. Celeste walked to the bedside and felt my forehead. Finding that my fever had broken, she breathed a long sigh of relief. Last night, Dr. Shu had administered acupuncture to expel most of the toxins from my body, so naturally the fever broke today. Luna, how do you feel? I blinked my eyes and made soft sounds. Abba, Abba. Woo, 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 mother. My throat hurts so much, I can't speak. Celeste touched my little face. Luna, be good. Dr. Shu says. You have a wind, heat, cold. As long as you take medicine properly, you'll recover quickly. Mother is so gentle. I love Mother so much. Want to cuddle with Mother. Kiss, kiss. Celeste's lips curved slightly upward. Just then, Eunuch Chen's voice came from outside the hall. Your Highness Celeste, His Majesty asks if 5th Princess feels any better, and would like her to come to the royal study. Celeste sat by the bed, frowning. Why would His Majesty suddenly want Luna to go to the royal study? Eunuch Chen, this servant doesn't know. I lay in bed, hearing their entire conversation clearly. Why does father want me to go to the royal study? But I've never been to the royal study before. Sounds like it would be fun. Want to go. Want to go. Want to go. Want to go. I reached out to tug Celeste's sleeve. Abba, Abba, Mother, let me go see, please. Celeste had originally planned to refuse decisively, but she found herself powerless against her daughter's acting cute. Fine, as long as Luna was happy. She could do whatever she wanted, Celeste said calmly. Then please ask Eunuch Chen to wait a moment. The princess just woke up. Eunuch Chen immediately bowed. This servant doesn't deserve your highness's courtesy. This servant will wait outside. With the maid's help, I was quickly ready. Celeste looked at me wrapped up like a dumpling, and nodded with satisfaction. This was exactly how thick the clothing should be. I made a bitter face. Mother, I can barely breathe. There is one kind of cold, called Mother thinks you are cold. But I also knew that since my illness wasn't fully cured, wearing thick clothes was good. This was perhaps what having a mother was like. This was warmth I'd never experienced in my previous life. After breakfast and medicine, I followed Eunuch Chen to the royal study. Before leaving, I didn't forget to turn and wave to Celeste. Bye-bye, Mother. I'll be back soon. Celeste stood at the hall entrance, watching that small figure gradually disappearing into the distance, and sighed heavily. Nina beside her comforted. Your Highness, don't worry. His Majesty likes little princess. That is why he is having her come to the royal study. Celeste. Let's hope so. Her precious daughter must not come to any harm. Royal study. Adrian looked at the testimony on his desk. His gaze cold and condensed. The facts were indeed as Luna had said. Vera had bribed Dr. Zhang to deliberately exaggerate Luna's condition, while secretly poisoning Luna's medicine, trying to kill her without anyone knowing. Absolutely detestable. He'd already dealt with those two directly. Vera was confined to the cold palace and given poisoned wine. Dr. Zhang would be executed after autumn. But there was one question he still couldn't figure out. How did Luna know these things? She was just a 3-year-old baby, and sick too. Moreover, she knew a could it be? Luna was a divine maiden descended from heaven. She could know the future and see into people's hearts. That is why he could hear Luna's thoughts. This was heaven's blessing. Their great moon kingdom would definitely prosper. Your Majesty, 5th princess has arrived. Adrian looked up to see me dressed like a New Year's doll. His daughter was absolutely adorable. Not only cute, but also a lucky star. Eunuch Chen, Your Majesty. Lady Celeste says, little princess's throat is uncomfortable, and she temporarily cannot speak. Adrian waved his hand. No matter. After all, he could hear Luna's thoughts anyway. It was even more direct and truthful. Others might flatter and falsely praise him, but Luna wouldn't. Even when Luna praised him, it was only one sentence. But somehow, this made him feel a bit sour inside. Adrian lifted me onto the dragon throne beside him. Eunuch Chen's breathing stopped momentarily upon seeing this. He truly hadn't expected His Majesty to dote on 5th princess so much. That was the dragon throne. If other princes and princesses knew, they'd be consumed with jealousy. I sat beside Adrian, blinking my big eyes and looking around curiously. So this is the royal study. So big and impressive. But this dragon throne is too hard. My bottom is uncomfortable. Is Tyrant Father's bottom made of stone? Doesn't he feel anything? Adrian, who heard everything. The dragon throne wasn't that hard. Fine, fine, Adrian commanded. The princess is young and still recovering. Bring a soft goose-down cushion and wool blanket. Yes, Eunuch Chen immediately complied. Soon I was sitting on a soft cushion with a thick blanket covering me. I blinked my big eyes, unable to help feeling surprised. Woohoo! I didn't expect Tyrant Father to be quite considerate. Adrian was about to smile when he heard me continue. But unfortunately 2 years from now. Sigh, Adrian. What about 2 years from now? Tell me what happens in 2 years. He brought Luna here specifically to learn what would happen in 2 years. But Luna still. Just then, Eunuch Chen reported. Your Majesty, Duke Kane requests an audience, saying he has urgent matters to report. I looked up upon hearing this. Duke Kane, the rebellious Duke Kane? Adrian, what? Rebellion. I sat on the dragon throne, swinging my little feet, frantically complaining internally. This Duke Kane is no simple character. He is crazy with desire to become emperor. He has already had 7 or 8 dragon robes made at home. 2 years from now, Duke Kane will raise troops in rebellion. Although Tyrant Father will be wounded by spies Duke Kane planted around him, though the rebellion will eventually be quelled, Father's health will never recover, his temper becoming increasingly volatile, turning him into a tyrant everyone despises. Great Moon Kingdom will gradually become impoverished with corrupt officials running rampant. So pitiful. My foolish father still hasn't discovered Duke Kane's true nature. Sigh. Though Duke Kane will fail, 10 years later, the male protagonist will succeed in establishing a new dynasty. Adrian was shocked to his core hearing this. Luna's prediction about 2 years from now was actually Duke Kane's rebellion. He truly hadn't expected Duke Kane to plan treason. Duke Kane had distinguished military service, helping him pacify the Northwest. Adrian truly trusted Duke Kane. He didn't want to be like previous dynasty emperors who disposed of meritorious officials after using them. Duke Kane had always been respectful to him, but who would have thought? All that trust and sincerity had been fed to dogs. Your subject greets your majesty. Long live, your majesty. Duke Kane entered and kowtowed as usual. While prostrate, he suddenly felt an extremely cold gaze upon him. Duke Kane looked up and met Adrian's frigid stare, immediately breaking out in cold sweat. Why was His Majesty looking at him like that? Had his rebellious thoughts been discovered? That shouldn't be possible. He'd been so careful. How could it be discovered? Probably just His Majesty being in a bad mood today. Adrian struggled to control his emotions. Now wasn't the time to alert the enemy. Duke Kane's heart, which had been hanging high, now settled. He knew it. His Majesty hadn't noticed anything and treated him the same as always. Duke Kane bowed and stated today's purpose. Reporting to your Majesty. Military provisions are insufficient and urgently need replenishment. Adrian didn't answer, wanting to hear Luna's thoughts first. Sure enough, as soon as Duke Kane finished speaking, I began frantically complaining internally. You lying scoundrel! You clearly embezzled those supplies yourself. Not only do you embezzle supplies, you also seize civilians' farmland, use court funds to train secret guards. This money never reached the soldiers at all. If not for my current 3-year-old status, I would have slapped Duke Kane directly. Such a person didn't deserve to be a general. He loved neither the people nor his subordinate soldiers. He only loved himself. Adrian's grip on his jade prayer beads tightened, veins bulging. This Duke Kane truly deserved death without Luna. He might not have discovered the truth until 2 years later, that he'd been deceived all along, Adrian said gravely. Duke Kane, I am aware of the supply situation, but the treasury is currently strained. There is no extra funds for the military at present. Duke Kane was stunned. His Majesty actually refused him previously. Whatever he requested, His Majesty had granted. His mind became confused and his speech began stuttering. Your Majesty, but the army, the soldiers really can't wait any longer. Adrian's gaze was sharp. Duke Kane, I recall recently providing you with a large batch of supplies. How could they be used up so quickly? Could it be you've embezzled them? Duke Kane immediately knelt. Your subject dares not. Your subject absolutely dares not. Where do you not dare? You are far too daring. Every time the court allocates supplies, you embezzle half. Any soldiers who try to reveal the truth get killed by you directly. Still, Tyrant Father is impressive. So quickly noticing something wrong. Now that he could notice Duke Kane's problems and stop losses in time, the story definitely wouldn't develop like the original novel. After all, before that rebellion, he'd been a wise ruler. Adrian's voice was ice cold. Supplies being used so quickly. You as general also bear responsibility. Forfeit 1 year's salary and go reflect on yourself. Duke Kane opened his mouth in shock. Not only no supplies, but salary forfeited too. Duke Kane wanted to say more, but Adrian cut him off directly. Get out. I don't want to see you. Duke Kane dared not resist and slunk away like a beaten dog. Woohoo! Tyrant Father is absolutely amazing. This way, the rebellion 2 years from now might be completely avoided. All right. I won't call you Tyrant anymore. Adrian smiled, slightly hearing my thoughts. Excellent. Luna finally stopped calling him Tyrant. He definitely didn't want to be a tyrant. As long as he could deal with Duke Kane now, the rebellion 2 years hence wouldn't happen, and he wouldn't become the tyrant Luna despised. As for Luna's mention of the male protagonist's successful rebellion 10 years later, that could wait, because he still didn't know who this protagonist was. Though the name sounded somewhat familiar, he couldn't quite place it. Adrian picked up his teacup and drank relaxedly. Bringing Luna to the royal study was clearly the right decision. She truly was his little lucky star. A treasure bestowed by heaven. Adrian turned to look at me beside him, eyes gentle. I blinked my eyes, somewhat confused, but still gave Adrian a sweet smile, my little dimples showing. Adrian's heart nearly melted seeing my smile. His little daughter was absolutely adorable. Adrian picked up a pastry from the table and personally fed it to me. Luna, try this. It is osmanthus cake newly made by the Imperial Kitchen. See if you like it? I took a bite, and my eyes immediately lit up, nodding vigorously. Delicious. Really delicious. This is the best osmanthus cake I've ever had. Adrian smiled, about to feed another piece when Eunuch Chen's voice rang out. Your Majesty, First Prince requests an audience. Let him in. Adrian finished feeding the pastry in his hand, then looked up, resuming his imperial composure. Soon, a handsome young man in white robes entered the hall. Felix resembled Adrian, about 60%. Same sword, like brows and dark eyes, straight nose bridge. Only Felix's complexion was paler, with bloodless lips appearing quite weak overall. Yet his bearing remained tall and elegant like pine and bamboo, noble and aloof. Felix entered and kowtowed. Your son greets Father Emperor, Adrian waved. Rise. Felix had just stood when he suddenly heard a crisp, childish voice. Is this my big brother? Truly devastatingly handsome. Want to cuddle with big brother. I love handsome men most in this life. Adrian hearing everything. Why could everyone else get 3 compliments? His heart felt sour. Felix stood frozen in place. What voice, calling him big brother with such a young voice? Could it be? Felix looked up and met a pair of beautiful large eyes behind the desk. This was Fifth Sister. Felix only now noticed me. So what he'd heard earlier was actually Fifth Sister's thoughts. This was truly miraculous, but not unacceptable. The world was full of wonders. Felix looked up and found Father Emperor's expression unchanged. Apparently he hadn't heard anything. Could only he hear it? Who would have thought he and Fifth Sister had such a connection? I noticed Felix's gaze and smiled at him, though I couldn't help sighing internally. Such a pity that big brother, despite being so talented and amazing, will die young, sigh. Felix, who is dying young? Adrian, my eldest son, is going to die. Both Felix and Adrian immediately held their breath, not daring to speak, afraid of interrupting my train of thought. Sigh. My big brother is good at everything. Writing, calligraphy, but he'll ultimately fall to a woman. Speaking of which, it is truly a cursed fate. A year ago, Big Brother was saved by a woman named Stella while in the outskirts. Big Brother, grateful for Stella's life, saving grace, brought her back to his residence, treating her well with good food and care. But who would have thought this Stella had been secretly poisoning Big Brother all along? That is why Big Brother's health keeps deteriorating. Poor Big Brother doesn't know the truth even until his death. Tragic. Truly tragic. Felix's pupils contracted sharply. How could Fifth Sister know about Stella? He'd never told anyone about Stella's existence. And how could Stella be poisoning him? But it was true that his health had worsened after Stella moved into his residence. Felix's heart pounded as he immediately bowed. Father Emperor, your son suddenly remembered some unfinished business at the residence, and wishes to return first. Adrian nodded. Go quickly. He completely believed Luna's words. But could there be someone behind Stella? This matter had to be investigated thoroughly. Who exactly wanted to harm his eldest son? He wanted to hear more but found no more voice in his ears. Adrian turned to see I had fallen asleep, sprawled across the desk, and couldn't help chuckling. I really was tired. Adrian lifted me into his arms and draped a cloak over me. He'd personally escort Luna back. Adrian, to Crystal Palace. Eunuch Chen immediately called out shrilly. His Majesty proceeds to Crystal Palace. Within the time of burning 1 incense stick, News that His Majesty had personally carried fifth princess back to Crystal Palace spread throughout the entire imperial palace. First prince's residence. Felix had barely reached the main courtyard when Stella appeared as well. Stella wore a jade green gauze dress today, her eyes holding gentle warmth, her entire being ethereally beautiful. "Your Highness, you are back." Stella smiled sweetly. She took a medicine bowl from a maid behind her and presented it to Felix. "Your Highness, you left too hurriedly this morning and forgot to drink your medicine." Felix looked at the black medicine bowl, involuntarily recalling that childish voice. Instead of taking the bowl, he asked directly, "Must I drink this medicine? I've been taking it from last year until now, but my health doesn't seem..." Stella's smile froze instantly, but she quickly recovered. Medicine naturally requires long-term treatment to see effects. "Your Highness looks much better than before." Felix smiled coldly. "Is that so?" Stella nodded. Of course, this sickly fool. What was wrong with him today? Actually starting to question things. If he didn't drink the medicine, how could she send him to the afterlife? "Your Highness, drink quickly. The medicine loses efficacy when cold." Felix looked up at her and took the medicine bowl. "Understood." Stella watched Felix's retreating figure, lips curving upward. She knew Felix would always listen to her. No man in this world could resist her charm. Stella smugly tucked her hair behind her ear and left the main courtyard. Felix entered his study, set the medicine bowl on his desk, and inserted a silver poison. Testing needle. In just a moment, the needle turned black. There was poison in the medicine. Felix's expression turned icy. Just as Fifth Sister had said, Stella had been poisoning him all along, never once suspected her. This matter required thorough investigation. Crystal Palace. I yawned and slowly opened my eyes to find it was already dark outside. Since my illness wasn't fully cured, I always felt sleepy. Who would have thought listening to others talk could also make me fall asleep? And I'd slept. "Luna, are you awake?" I nodded and made a soft sound. Celeste came to the bedside, pulled back the curtains, and personally helped me dress. Her voice was gentle and coaxing. "Luna, are you hungry?" "Mother made your favorite fish soup." I nodded vigorously. Love Mother so much." Celeste smiled warmly, lifted me up, and walked to Crystal Palace's main hall. The main hall had a purple sandalwood square table laden with various delicious dishes. I stared hungrily, almost drooling, when I suddenly noticed a bright yellow figure. Ah, Adrian. How disappointing to see him. Sigh, still want to eat alone with beautiful mother. Celeste's lips curved hearing this. But noticing Adrian's poor expression, she quickly suppressed her smile. Better to laugh secretly. I sat in Celeste's embrace, eating heartily. Beautiful mother's cooking is absolutely amazing. Other concubines have servants cook, then present it to father claiming they made it themselves. My mother is different. She truly can cook. And it is this delicious. Mother is so amazing. Celeste's ears reddened from the praise. Luna really was. She hadn't expected to appear so wonderful in Luna's eyes. Adrian nodded, appreciatively while drinking his fish soup. He now realized Celeste was indeed different from his other consorts. He'd been busy with state affairs for years, usually going wherever he was invited. But in his memory, Celeste had never invited him. She was like an orchid, quietly blooming. Adrian felt he should visit Celeste more often in the future. Just then, Eunuch Chen suddenly entered from outside. "Your Majesty, Consort Rose says she is feeling unwell and requests your presence." I pursed my lips hearing this, while maintaining the facade of a normal 3-year-old. I frantically complained internally. Seriously, if she is unwell, call a doctor. Why summon father? Father can't treat illness. More attention, seeking tactics. My father, this big fool, will definitely fall for it again. Adrian, what was a big fool? Originally, he hadn't thought much of it, but with my commentary, he realized Rose did seem to fall ill quite frequently. Basically, whenever he was at other consorts' palaces, she'd claim to feel unwell. Previously, he'd go check on her, but now, Adrian frowned. Tell Rose to summon a physician herself. I have no time. Whoa, father actually refused Rose. The big fool is making progress. Shallow praise. Adrian, what did shallow praise mean? Didn't this deserve great praise? Fine. That Luna was willing to praise him at all was already quite good. But when would Luna praise him with 3 sentences, too? I finished eating and nestled in Celeste's arms, blinking at the tea, drinking. Adrian, why isn't father leaving yet? Don't interfere with my sleeping with mother. Ah, sleepy. Want to sleep with pretty mother. Adrian, why such disdain for him? But Adrian understood that since Luna's birth until now, he'd barely spent time with her. Luna not being close to him was normal. No matter, he'd make it up to Luna in the future. After finishing his tea and chatting a while longer, Adrian returned to the royal study to continue handling state affairs. Duke Kane's situation still had many matters requiring attention. The next day, Adrian looked at me still sleeping soundly in his arms, and sighed. He'd brought Luna to the royal study hoping to hear her thoughts, and see which other treacherous officials surrounded him. But unexpectedly, though the sun was already high, Luna still hadn't awakened. Fortunately, he hadn't brought her to morning court, or Luna might have slept through the entire session. But he couldn't bear to wake Luna. Better let her sleep naturally. Your Majesty, the Imperial kitchen sent fish porridge, Eunuch Chen said quietly. Adrian nodded. Understood. After handling morning affairs, he was indeed somewhat hungry. Adrian had just lifted the porcelain lid when the little person in his arms immediately opened her eyes, staring unblinkingly at the fish porridge in his hands. Woken by the aroma, this fish porridge looked so delicious. Adrian, his daughter, seemed to love eating. Eventually the fish porridge ended up in my mouth. I was happily eating fish porridge when I suddenly heard Felix's voice. Your son greets Father Emperor. Rise, Adrian said calmly. The matter of Duke Kane embezzling military funds. I'll leave that to you. Your son obeys. Woohoo! Looks like Father Emperor has begun taking action. Duke Kane's schemes definitely won't succeed. I can continue being a carefree little parasite. After discussing various details and arranging everything, Adrian suddenly said, I hear your medicine was poisoned? Felix looked puzzled. How does Father Emperor know? Wasn't only he able to hear Fifth Sister's thoughts, Adrian? Dr. Shu told me. He said you brought a bowl of medicine this morning for him to examine for poison. This morning Dr. Shu had indeed come, informing him that the medicine Felix drank contained poison. But what truly made him aware was yesterday's revelation from Luna's thoughts. Of course, he couldn't tell his eldest son that, after all, only he could hear Luna's thoughts. Felix nodded, believing this explanation. He had indeed sought out Dr. Shu this morning, but unfortunately, Dr. Shu couldn't identify what specific poison was used. Adrian looked at his eldest son's pale complexion, feeling heart-wrenching pain. He'd truly been too neglectful of his children. Have you discovered who is behind the poisoning? Your son hasn't yet determined this. I ate my fish porridge while frantically complaining internally. Who else could it be? Of course it is Sophia. This Stella is Sophia's person. Last year's rescue was all deliberately orchestrated by them. But both Sophia and Stella are extremely cautious people. You probably can't catch them in anything. Adrian, Felix. Neither had expected it to be Sophia. Adrian fingered his jade prayer beads without speaking. If Sophia was behind the harm, this matter would indeed be difficult to handle. He wasn't a tyrant. He couldn't arrest Sophia indiscriminately without evidence. Sophia had borne the third prince, and her family, Duke Kane, wielded enormous power. Though he now planned to deal with Duke Kane, it wasn't something that could be accomplished overnight. This required careful long-term planning. Felix, having heard my thoughts, rapidly considered options and quickly conceived a plan. Father Emperor, your son has an idea. Why don't we lure the snake from its hole to draw out the mastermind? Hearing this, I even set down my fish porridge spoon, perking up my little ears to listen carefully. First Prince's residence. What? Master Yun is returning to the capital. Stella couldn't help but exclaim. Yes, Master Yun is a renowned physician of our time. Now that he is finally returning to the capital. With him here, my illness should recover quickly. Stella, aren't you happy for me? Felix smiled ambiguously at the person before him. He had indeed once loved Stella, but that little affection had completely evaporated the moment he learned the truth. Stella bit her lip. Of course I am happy. Master Yun's return is wonderful news. She maintained her smile while inwardly growing agitated. Master Yun was coming back. Would he discover the poison in the medicine? What about her and Sophia? Felix observed Stella's fleeting panic and smiled coldly. Late at night, a slim figure slipped out the back door of the first prince's residence. In the nearby darkness, Tang asked puzzledly. Your Highness, we're just letting Stella go like this. What if she never returns? Felix chuckled softly. She won't. She has been embedded beside me for a full year. How could she give up so easily? She is definitely going to find Sophia now to discuss countermeasures. If we can implicate Sophia in this, we'll have succeeded.